So this is your ultimate close-up. Okay. We talked a little bit earlier about petting the dog. I consider petting a dog our way of paying the dog. Right now, she jumps up on you, she scratches at you, she nudges at you, she barks at you to pet her. She's basically giving you orders. She's petulant, like a child. I want chocolate cake. Well, you can't have chocolate cake. It's breakfast. I want chocolate cake. I know you want chocolate cake, but chocolate's not good for you. So if the dog tells us what to do and then we comply, like I mentioned earlier, that gives the dog the impression that it is in an authority position. So what I do is when the dog scratches at me, nudges me, barks at me, if it jumps up on me, I'm just going to stand up. That eliminates the lap. So what I like to do is, because I consider petting a dog, paying a dog, sit. Sit. So the second her butt hits the ground, within 3 seconds, you have to assign the command word to mark it. And so what I want to do is give her a counter order. She tells me to pet me, I tell her to sit. When she sits, sit, she gets a reward. You're making this hard for me to film you. Sit. Sit. You're all kinds of twisted up. So the circle is also in neuroses. It's an unbalanced state of mind. Sit. So what I do is I like to hold my hand like this because it looks like I am holding something. Sit. So as soon as she sits, I scratch under her chin and I say the command word. So from now on, when she nudges or demands attention, give her a counter order. And as soon as she sits, then reward her for compliance. Now, the other way that you can do that, or not the other way you can do that, but adding on to that, when a dog sits on its own or comes and lays down in front of you, I call this passive training. So let's say she just comes, walks over and sits in front of you. Well, I reach over, then I scratch her under her chin, and I say the word sit. I didn't ask her to do it, but she's still in the sitting position. And so if I reward her for doing these desired behaviors, then after a while she's going to learn, hey, if I jump up or scratch at the human, that doesn't get me anywhere anymore. But if I sit in front of them, they pet me. And if I want to, if I'm inclined to really motivate her, I use a treat like this. Sit. Let her sniff that I have it. Sit. So I let her lick it off my hand, and that puts my fingertips under her chin, and then I start tickling. Now, if you've heard of Pavlov's dog, Pavlov noticed that his dog drooled when he brought out food. So he started bringing out food and ringing a bell at the same time, and after a while, he just rang the bell without any food, and the dog would still drool. So if we associate at the same time, so at the same time that she touches the treat with her lips, she hears the command word sit, and I start tickling and scratching her under her chin, eventually the tickling and scratching becomes analogous to the treat. And then those times when we don't have a treat, we're just scratching her under her chin, and it's the same thing. So petting with a purpose is probably the easiest thing that you can do that will get the most bang for your buck in terms of the time invested. Okay. It's going to take you a little bit of time to get used to it. Now, one other mistake that a lot of people make is good dog or good girl. They say good girl when the dog sits, when it lies down, when it comes, when it eats its food, when it's just sitting there looking pretty. If it means everything, it means nothing. So it's a platitude. The dog understands that you're pleased. But what I want to do is I want to communicate sit. Sit is a desired action. Now, as soon as she gets out of a sit, I stop petting her. And again, the circle is, again, an unbalanced mind. Sit. Sit. Now, if we use treats in the stop, and because she's so insecure and so anxious, I would suggest using those treats because that's going to help her get a real positive reward. Right now, it's almost like some people don't think that they're deserving of, they get a girlfriend and they're really insecure and they don't think they're deserving of the girl to make them a meal or whatever. They have such low self-esteem, they don't feel it's appropriate to get that. Dogs also have that, and I can see that in her. So yeah, I don't deserve the petting. So, but when we use a treat, we bypass that part of the brain because they're like, oh, sit. So she sat much easier that time, and she wasn't trying to swirl around in circles or kind of crouch down. What I would recommend is you guys come up with a command word like earn it or paycheck. So if you hear your partner say paycheck, you immediately stop petting the dog and then tell it to sit or lie down. Now, if the dog's sitting here and I want to pet the dog just because I want to, I ask the dog to come and sit over here. Come. Here, I'll use a treat. Come. Sit. So she just has to change her state. She's already sitting. We have to go sit somewhere else or ask her to lay down.
Okay.
That's petting with a purpose. And like I said, it is the easiest thing that you can do that will have the biggest impact on your dog, but it's going to take you a couple of days to get used to it. Right?
Okay.